Creative thinkers, what's going on? Cook, creative architect here, and I got the gang with me, and you know, the creatives got something to say. First and foremost, Kadeja, Law, how y'all feeling, man? Law, how you feeling over there, my brother?
Feeling good, brother. You know, another week, another episode, looking to get into some creative stuff. I'm loving the topics that we have on tap for today, so blessed and highly favored, brother.
All right, my guy. Okay, I see you. What about you, K-Lig?
I'm all good.
All
living
good?
in the land of the living.
So y'all, anything you want to catch up? First off, I mean, you just had a whole paid in full rollout. Like, can you talk about that experience for a second, my guy?
It was interesting because I was kind of getting my feet wet again. You know, I've been doing a lot of public murals and things like that. So going back into like my own products, getting it back in front of the people. I think it was a good campaign. Just ended a couple weeks ago. So from that nature, I think it was just doing the reps again. You know what I mean? Being a business owner, but being a creative, you kind of got to keep it organic. So just showing people to, you know, get traffic to my website, doing the ads, getting the funnels going. Like, it's part of the process.
Yo, how long have you been doing the paid in full campaign at this point?
Bro, I started that in 2016, which is crazy because I feel like that's what changed my business. Yeah. In terms of like a drop where people just gravitated to it. So I kept the tradition going. And that's one thing when you do things is like, once you do it once, just find something that can be like an anniversary that you can do each year and bring it up for relevance, you know?
Yo, I actually really rock with that because like each year, again, you're just repurposing something that's already in the chamber. Like you don't gotta change a funnel, change a system, maybe a couple new videos, but that's also dope in itself to see the evolution of how you can promote it. So
no, facts.
Yeah.
And you gotta think it's what, billions of people in this world. Just because I dropped it once in 2016
doesn't mean everybody.
Come on now.
Nah, especially something as culturally impactful as paid in full.
Exactly.
You know, so if y'all haven't seen, I mean, hope y'all will. We don't put enough ads on it. Honestly, first and foremost, y'all, I think we should definitely start throwing our own commercials in between our episodes.
No,
like,
fact.
If we got something to
I'm
sell,
not mad at that.
If we got like a client or something that's like, yo, I can put your ad in here. Do what you gotta do. You know, this is what happens independently.
No, fact.
K-Lig, anything new in your world?
It's me, y'all. I feel like everything is new. I did go home again, and I went to go visit my friend Justice, who is launching a podcast, and I was a guest on her pod. Friend of the pod, yes.
Friend of the pod.
So it was cool just talking creatively with her. I love just seeing how I've grown as a creative and also like getting into my voice. Because if you were to tell me this time last year that I would be like on this pod or speaking to anybody like fully, like full throated, that's crazy. So I've grown a lot and I feel more passionate and also just more owning my own voice more in this season of my life. So
hey, so is there like something that the creative you now would say to the creative you that left?
Speak up more, or like you know what you're talking about, or even if you don't know what you're talking about, that's the good thing too, because people out there can relate to that. So I think definitely speak up more and share your story more would definitely be like what I would tell my younger self.
I like it. All right. Well, for me, you know, I had as y'all know, I mean, man of many hats. Vice president of the local NAMIC board.
Yes,
NAMIC is an organization for it's a national for multi-ethnicity individual and communication space. So pretty much, you know, people of color in the space of media, communications, entertainment, had the national conference in New York. And this is my third time going. So, I mean, I ain't gonna hold you, like, I'll probably throw some overlays and some clips over here, but, you know, I mean, it's right downtown New York off of Broadway at the Marriott Marquis, and it's a super dope experience because you get to see how many professionals look like you in this space. And I'm talking about, like, there's reps from Comcast, Charter, ESPN, ABC, you know. We're talking, like, VPs in those roles, too. And so to, you know, be in a room with those types of individuals, like, every year I'm just blown away by the journey that I've been on, like, where God's got me as being just the creative that I am. And honestly, just how things worked out with my department and team that I'm able to go each year because of the department that I'm in partnerships. Like, most times it's like a one-off, so it lined up for me on the local board. And shout outs to NAMIC. They're actually helping to bring some co-working with Creatives Days back for CTLN.
It's all about the network.
A great play. And I think them themselves are in a transitional phase where clearly y'all got the brand, y'all got like the connections, but that digital bridge, that digital gap is there in terms of reaching younger audience or, you know, a wider audience of those in the space, even independent communication type of individuals. So I think there's a gap for us to find our way through. I'm trying to look into, you know, what a partnership could look like and what that may feel like. But yo, I had a time, man. It was really dope. 2-day conference. The founder of, I want to say Essence, very colorful woman who like has a great big personality. I can't remember her name, but
Probably is Essence.
she was one of the keynotes, and I mean, she kicked it off just talking about how everyone has a privilege in certain situations and circumstances, and what identifying being yourself is. So that was something I took away from it. TV1 ended up hosting a panel talking about branding, brand alignment, whether it's performative or actually authentic, and the director from Amazon, and I forget her name, but she was on the panel. And I mean, she talked about how they got the pop out on Amazon, like how she got that deal off, and you know the impact of that, and how this was their second Juneteenth activation, and Kendrick came to them with it. And she was promoting Amazon Prime's concerts with Big Sean that was coming up. Like she was there that week. Like, all right, like I got a whole show. And actually, shout out to my guy Lay, friend of the show, work at Amazon. I topped it up with her after. It was like, yeah, I know someone I think that works on your team. She's like, oh, Lay? Oh, he's great. Let him know that that you see me. And he's like, you know, so to see them also when the Big Sean concert came out, I was like, yo, this is really dope. So, you know, just moving into spaces, yo. I'm excited to be here for another episode, another week.
Yes, sir.
Because the creators, we got something to say, man.
Yes, sir.
So today, and I didn't switch it on this, but today's topic that we have going on that we want to, you know, lean into for this conversation is that of imposter syndrome.
Sheesh. I think we all been there. I think we all been there.
We've had those moments. We've had those times. So does anyone want to define it for the audience that may not be aware? Is it me? Is it me, Jesus?
And let me know if I'm wrong, but what I take from imposter syndrome is like you aren't who people think you are. So like you feel like you're fake in the space that you're in when you really need to own what you're doing. You feel like that you're not operating authentically and you just don't belong.
Yeah.
When in reality, you are him or you are her. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or you are them. So I think. Listen.
Hello. You're looking at the right network.
That's good.
Nah, for sure.
Yeah. So I feel like in that aspect of it, like we all experience it, but it's certain obstacles that you have to get over the hump. But I feel like I'm diving deep. But that's how
you about to get it back.
Yeah.
I think so I did get service to look it up.
Google.
Okay.
You know, because I did want to provide like I know our context of experience, but it's like what is the actual meaning, right?
Exactly.
So imposter syndrome is the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. So pretty much what you just said.
Yeah.
I did like the word persistent. I think that's interesting. Like it's not just a fleeting thing; it's a persistent thing that's showing up in your journey. That's good.
That's sorry, I was getting a phone call at that exact moment too. I don't know why they're calling me. It's not my job. But that idea, belief. We gave the definition, what it feels like, right? And what does it feel like? Like for me, man, that's felt like being in those rooms, like I was just talking about, and it's like. You kind of almost close up like, I'm not supposed to be here. I don't want to get caught in here. How did I get in here? Like, I'm afraid to say the wrong thing because then they'll know I won't belong in here. And like, for me, that's what imposter syndrome looked like from an experience perspective. So that's what it is in my head. Any thoughts or differences?
Yeah, I think for myself, when I get that certain stature of success or I do this or I do that, I kind of belittle it. And it's like, no, I need to live in it. I need to...
stand on it.
Yeah, stand on it, 10 toes, and really, like, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing, and I deserve what's coming my way. And I think I fight with myself, and I try to get better every day to change my mindset to really live in this success because I've worked for this. So when it comes, why am I acting like I don't deserve it or I'm not supposed to be
Or it's
here?
not that big of a deal.
Exactly. So personally, for me, I think that's an ongoing thing that I'm trying to really help with myself.
For me, I think it's like a distance between my achievements and then like the day to day. Sometimes in conversation, I'm like, oh yeah, I did do that. Or like in conversation when I see somebody that I haven't seen in a while and then they bring up things that I do on the internet or they've seen and they make a big deal about it. And I'm like, oh yeah, that is pretty cool. Like it's always like a, oh yeah type of situation. Yeah. And what you said about living in it and being in the present moment is something that I'm working on. It's like, celebrating the wins, but how do you celebrate the win but also understand that you are you're on a small piece of your bigger journey. Right. I think I'm always comparing myself to what I think I should be or where I should be, or like the other creatives in the same space as me and what they're doing and how I'm not measuring up to that. I think that's what imposter syndrome shows up for me. I'm like, I don't know if I should be in the same sentence as that creative that you just brought up for me, because I'm like, that's the person I'm looking at.
No,
and I even with opportunities that come up where it's like speaking engagements or like things where it's like, you want to hear my version of this, like my thoughts on this, like it's something that I think has, and I wonder if it's gotten heightened in our generation because of the social media effect, right?
Yeah,
that's a must. Like I think that's
like the reality of people being able to curate a product and show people this is how I live can also make others feel like, dang, I'm not there.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not on that wave. I'm not on that time. And so, one, I guess how do y'all manage like with dealing with what you consume and what you put on yourself versus like just building yourself up? And I have another thought, but I'm gonna start there.
To that point of like what you see online, I try to make sure that it is a parallel. I don't want to show or like manufacture my life to the point where when I look at it, I don't even know who that is. So I think it is an intentional thing of like, okay, this is my real life and this is what I'm presenting online. So that's what I try to do to kind of balance it out. I forgot the question.
For me, it's personally just knowing what I see online. I don't know the whole story. I don't know 100% of the story. So I can always put in my mind, oh, I want to be like him, or he's at the same level I am, or he's higher than what I'm trying to achieve to. You don't know what that person been through. You don't know who's helping him. You don't know what she's doing. You don't know the whole thing. So I always use as motivation and, reference factors for myself, but I never dive too deep into it, because if you don't know the person personally, even if you do know the person personally half the time, you just don't know the whole story of what's going on. So you take everything with a grain of salt. Everything you see, social media is entertainment. So really take that into consideration when you're seeing other things, to not take it so literal, because you never know the entire story.
Yeah.
Yo, and I was just saying that, like I'm thinking, right, like as we say, like, hey, share what the process is and what you really go through. And I think about it like before it was the buzzword that it is in terms of imposter syndrome. Like before I had a label of it, like what was my experience in the spaces of looking up to people and kind of like being all to be in their presence to only even be let down and even feel like, dang, like what is the disconnect? Like where do I stand if like even this road that I'm following isn't bearing the fruit that I thought it was, or what that could look like. And honestly, I think when it comes to this topic particularly, I have to give credit to those who constantly push forward and figuring it out, because that's what it feels like it is. Like imposter syndrome to me is like, not knowing what you can do, what you're capable of, but being called to and showing up and what that could look like.
Have you ever not done something because you didn't believe in yourself?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, it's funny. It sounds like a sad episode.
It does, don't it?
But I think the reality of it is like, it's like your measurement of your own growth, right? Like, because like when J. Cole says like, look where I came, look how far I done came, like that John, like I really like have to stop and like really look where I come from, like, you be proud of this, like, and to your point of like when you're, I think I was talking to a good friend of mine, Crystal, the other day, and it was like, like you got to stop being humble in certain areas because of the fact that you really have done the work and you really have put that in. Like, don't let whatever pre-notion of result you have hold you back from leaning into a moment. So I think to break imposter syndrome, you do have to celebrate yourself more along the way. And so how do you celebrate, right? Like what are the celebration tools? For me, that's like a solo play, a nice little, I do like a good annual, like, journey retreat,
Gotcha,
like where you just like reflection, like oh, like this is what I've done this year. But documenting it. But I don't want to steal all this. I know we have some like guiding questions. I guess how do you build confidence in your craft as a start?
All right, I'll go first.
I'm trying to think. How do you...
Yeah, building confidence in my craft is just a repetition. I try to put in my mind, it's okay to fail. It's okay to fail because I feel like the best confidence is knowing that you might lose. Because if you lose, what else is going to happen? You know what I mean? I feel like a loss isn't even a loss. It's a lesson at the end of the day also. So it's a mindset of how you think about it. But just knowing that, have the intention to know that it might not work out. And if it doesn't work out, you're not going to die. You're still going to be here. So from that aspect of it, I just try to keep that in the front is like, you might fail. And okay, who cares? And yeah.
I think that's interesting when you think about like creativity in art form, even like for the videos that I create, everything, what do men say? Every shot you take is whatever men say about sports. Every ball you throw isn't gonna be great.
It's gonna be every pass ain't a touchdown.
Exactly.
Every pass ain't a touchdown. I got it.
Insert sport alliteration. But no, really, like I feel like it's repetition. It's like every piece of art that I put out is not gonna be the Mona Lisa. Exactly. And I think that's how you get to the Mona Lisa is by continuing to create and to push things out. Yeah. Even when you don't feel that quote unquote confident in it, is because you don't know what people are gonna gravitate towards. So I think it's hard when it comes to creativity about that.
Honestly, if I'm like really being real talking to someone, it's removing expectation from whatever you're putting yourself into.
There you go.
Like,
you just looped it all.
Hey, this is why we talk. This is why we talk. But yeah, like, cause expectations ruin so much. Like
in relationships.
All types of ships, friendships, relationships, championships, like all types of ships get ruined by expectations, right? Because, and I think sports is the best analogy for this because we very much buy into look, I'm a Philadelphia fan, and we thought the Phillies was going to be something, and they got knocked out the first round. If I would have set that expectation of a World Series, I would still be in shambles, right? And I mean, but even on a personal level, let's just be honest. This podcast, this show, like, I'm having fun just trying with y'all. Exactly. Like, I'm having fun figuring this out. Yeah. The results may vary in terms of, hey, how's it captured? How the timing, the execution, like, we're getting the repetitions to build it up. But the product of doing it has been just fun.
But is that in itself, like, lowering your expectations, is that equivalent to imposter syndrome?
I mean, no, because I'm leaning into having fun, too. Like, it's not... I think it does if it's something that you curve how you experience it because of you lowering your expectations. Like, oh, I don't think I can do this, so I really don't want to enjoy this, right? Yeah. But, like, for me, it's like, yo, there's no expectation, but I'm having a blast. Right. Like, even, like, we kind of started off kind of sad because it's imposter syndrom. They like, it's like a dramatic word. Like, it takes you to that place, like, ooh, I don't camera believe on in me. Myself. Oh, man. Like, you get in that, like, if because we're honest, like, and we all live it, like, it's something, to me, it's, yo, I'm in my house, the lights is low, like, I'm probably not answering texts, I'm in the same sweatpants for maybe 2 to 3 business days.
Okay, now.
No, temperature check.
I can change my clothes.
I do. Hey, I wash clothes and I shower. Relax.
Relax. You might gotta go talk to the lady. Like, cause what?
Hey, nah, this ain't even present. This is experience. Relax. Right. And I do shower and I do wash. I know how to separate my lights. Allegedly is crazy. Allegedly is crazy, but it's 100% like, those someone used to say like the 3 a.m. thoughts. Like when it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, it's completely silent. It's just you and your feelings. Like that character, that person who's how often do they show up, right? And how do you talk to that person? Because it is an internal like battle of you are and you're not, right?
And that's why I think like the persistent word jumped out at me when you read the definition. And that also brings me to Inside Out, which is like my favorite.
Love it.
Alleged.
Watch the second one.
Yeah. It's great for like putting the allegory of, not allegations. For putting the picture in your head that you are not your feelings or your emotions. You are not that imposter syndrome that shows up. But I think for me, maybe it's not named imposter syndrome, but maybe it's like my anxiety, for example. Like my anxiety has to show up in my personality and in my day-to-day because it keeps me grounded and it keeps me present. It keeps me safe in some aspects, but it also can keep me running or thinking that I'm not enough or that I can't do these things. So imposter syndrome shows up in the 3 a.m. thoughts, but how often, like you said, and what do I say to that person in order to get myself back on track? Because I do think it's a part of the human experience, especially when you're putting yourself out there as a creative, to be judged, to put my life on the line, like for real, like my day-to-day has to funnel my money, my rent. Like, how do I continue to show up and say, like, okay, I need to pay these bills. How is this going to show up? How am I going to let that imposter syndrome steer me from actually executing? I can't.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I was, as you were saying that, I realized one thing that does count as like affirmations for a lot of people. And I know I had this whole mantra thing that I can't even find right now. Maybe I'll find it sometime before this conversation's over. In fact, I can ask the question, is there a difference between imposter syndrome and creative butterflies? Like, like that. Yeah. Like, and what does that feel like? Like, what how would you describe the difference between the two?
I feel like with creative butterflies.
And I mean, not to say butterflies, but however you want to label it.
Yeah. I know.
I'm not manly enough.
I would just throw butterflies on you, my G.
No, I get it. We're gonna rock with it. I feel like that's more of like the anxious type, but you know that you want to do it, or you know that you're supposed to be here, but you know
what's on the other side of that. Yeah,
you know what's on the other side of it. So, I think that's the difference. Beside it is like the imposter syndrome is more, in my opinion, more negative. Like, I don't even belong here, or I don't deserve this. The creative butterflies is like, dang, I can't wait to do it. Like, I know.
Look at me.
I'm
here.
nervous.
Yeah, exactly. I'm nervous, but I know I'm supposed to be here. So that's the difference in my eyes. Is like just the intention of knowing what's for you, it is for you, but it just hasn't happened yet. You know what I mean?
I like that.
I think it's like a roadblock. I think imposter syndrome would stop you from doing something, but the butterflies would either. Sometimes people like some people think that's like energizing. I don't really enjoy like any type of adrenaline, but but it does like fuel some people. And then I think imposter syndrome is like a blockage for some people.
And I think it's two parts. It is calling them out separately. Like, hey, like, you know what? Like, me, 10,000 people in the audience. I'm about to go do this. Like, you know what? Like, I'm excited. And to your point, some people like it because it makes you feel alive. Like, it makes you feel like close to whatever. It's that pulse. Like, yo, I'm doing something that excites me, scares me, thrills me, whatever that looks like. Where, like you said, to imposter syndrome, it's like, you could be in that very moment on stage, like, I hope no one sees me. I hope no one's looking. Like, and feel really kind of isolated in that sense. I was going to just say community helps with stopping that, but go ahead. I
was just going to say, and it's funny because that feeling can feel very similar when you're in the moment, especially physically. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. Exactly. When you're in that moment, it's like you will hope that you're able to differentiate the two, but just physically, it definitely can feel the same.
I'm thinking about listening to this. I think it showed up for me as like self-sabotage. I remember I had a presentation. I was scared as shit in high school. And instead of getting up there and just reading off the paper, no, Kadeja decided to just say all of the things that you're not supposed to say. Oh, wow. Like, I did this last minute. I don't understand why anybody is doing this project because it's stupid. Like, just going on and on and on. And yeah, I think that imposter syndrome showed up for me because it was as if I don't know why I'm pretending to be smart. Got you. Even though I'm a smart woman. Yeah. Like, I don't know why I'm pretending that I'm anything more or that I can actually bullshit my way through this. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good one. And I think even for me, like, imposter syndrome can steal the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can look back on something and be like, I don't even remember this.
Yeah.
Like
Ooh, not
I
you
don't.
blocking it.
Nah, like
Go see the lady.
Sorry, yo, we cool. I promise, man. I got my diploma this year.
I'm just saying.
But but more so just in a sense like you don't like it's an outer body experience more so than just like a never happened to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's like dang, like I felt like this, and here
It
other
wasn't
people
even
are
me.
reacting
Right.
differently, and you can see it from a different lens. I think it's important to turn the camera around sometimes and just like experience something like just witnessing it instead of just like in your head about it. Like, yo, be in the moment. Like, this is a great moment for your character.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm watching a show, I'm rooting for this. Like, yeah, you got it. Like, I've been waiting for you to experience that. So one thing I will do, and at least say before asking this last question is, I do have an affirmation that I think we could use for any type of creative in the space. So it says, I can read. Others are ahead of me. I am continually challenged. My focus is forward. The atmosphere is affirming. I am often out of my comfort zone. I wake up excited. Failure is not my enemy. Others are growing. People desire change. Growth is modeled and expected. So, something for if you're on the journey and you are trying to find your way or figure that out, just finding something to tell yourself to keep going. Because we all go through it. It's nothing against it. So the last question here is it better, because imposter syndrome is most times like, again, you don't feel like you're something or whatever that might be. We read the definition. Is it better to fake it till you make it or focus on what's real?
I'm a fake it till I make it type of girl. Like, I have a thing of like, okay, I might be nervous, but if I tell myself a certain story, I'm going to go with that story.
Gotcha.
So I don't, not to say that I'm fake. I'm just saying like maybe the reality that I'm creating for myself shuts out some of the imposter syndrome, some of the anxiety, because I cannot allow that to overtake the moment or I will derail. So yeah.
That's right.
What was the other? It wasn't fake it till you make it. What's the other?
Focus on what's real.
Focus on what's real.
I'm gonna focus on what's real. I think authenticity always wins. Not saying that you lying if you fake it till you make it, but
He told me a lie.
I'm just saying.
Phony.
I think the authenticity aspect of it is so real because so people can relate to it, especially in today's day and age, just with social media and just feel like we're always being lied to. So I think I'm gonna always focus on the real in the journey, even if the things that I share on social, even if they're not like real big developments, if they're incremental, it's still worth sharing the process, sharing the journey, so people can, kind of relate to it. They can take tidbits from it and also give you feedback on what you're going through as well.
I think just to taking what you took, what you said, I think I like the being grounded and focusing on the reality of the situation is what I mean by faking it till I make it.
Gotcha.
Like I'm going to focus on the things that may move me forward more so. Thank you. Then to allow my anxieties to run the whole vibe.
Got you.
I have to think about this, and I say that because I get it. Like sometimes you have to act like how you want to become, like play the role. Like there's a such thing as dress the part, right? And it might not be your everyday norm, but you have to. I think there are moments that you have to show up for the moment, and then there's more times where you have to show up for yourself. And I think you have to weigh that. So that's kind of me teetering on the fence, right? You see that? But honestly, I think in a sense of actually building your creative confidence, you have to focus on what's real. Because, there can become a detachment from the fake it till you make it part where that gets so far that you, like you said, you don't recognize yourself or you feel like, dang, that's not even the way that I'm trying to live my life because you've gotten so good at faking it till you, like people that made it by faking it.
Yeah.
And we've seen people succeed off of that. And I think that is where you get those viral or those bursts of moments where people can do something, but they can't sustain it because they follow the formula that wasn't necessarily their identity. So I would say lean into who you are and kind of continue to show up as that so you can attract that, as best as possible. Like as this person who doesn't want to be on social media all the time. I know how I show up. I know I show up better on an X/Twitter than I do on a Instagram on a day-to-day, because that's how my mind works. So find pockets for you and your circle.
Yeah.
That's good advice.
You know? So look at us. And we got some time to keep rolling into our next segment. Rate, recommend, resource.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
For sure. So this week, none other than Mr. Law himself. Please take it away, good sir.
Let's go. I'm up. I think I got some good topics for the rate, recommend, resource. Want to start off with the rate. This kind of hits home to one of my favorite lifestyle brands. This hits home to one of my favorite lifestyle brands, Kith, ran by Ronnie Fayed. I used to say Feig for a long time, but Ronnie Fayed. He's actually based out of New York. I think he's from Queens, and he's built this brand over the last 15 years. And recently, he started a collab with the New York Knicks, hometown. He does this Kith night for the last 3 years, where he's been doing an activation, and pretty much it's all culture that has to do with the Knicks, from the culture and things like this. But this time, he pretty much did an entire activation. It was a week-long activation where he did leads up to the actual night, where they changed the Knicks logo to say Kith on it and encapsulate everything New York. But I think the rollout of the entire campaign was very authentic, but just he does so many subtle things that push the culture, but it's not so much like in your face rah-rah. So just to give a little synopsis behind it, he had a talk with the designer of the New York Knicks logo, world-renowned designer. I forgot his name, but he had a podcast interview on Kith.com, and you got to think about this. It's all about access, right? When you think about podcasts, you think about Spotify, you think about Apple, you think about YouTube. You had to actually go to the Kith website to watch the podcast. So now it's forcing traffic directly to Kith.com. You have to sign up for the email list to get when it drops and everything like that. So just marketing in terms of like captivating our audience and keeping it, I thought that was very authentic. On top of that, on the actual Kith night, they have actual activations. They're going to have... They had actual like halftime presentation about Kith and everything like that. They changed the logo on the court, so it was definitely a very, how can I say this? Just a very classy event that they had during the game. So just want to give you a background behind it, the entire rollout. And he's known for collaborating with brands, so it's nothing new to him. But for him to do it in his hometown,
it's a big deal. Yeah,
in his own hometown with the NBA team is a big deal. So I'll save my rate, but I just want to get y'all thoughts on it as well, if y'all looked it up.
Yeah, I personally love Kith. When I went to New York, I went to the store and definitely got the whole vibe. I think what you said about it being authentic, being very New York, being clean is also what I think about when I think about the brand. So seeing that he had the collab with the New York Knicks makes sense. And it also, he did it in a very way that it was also Kith. So it wasn't anything as far as like, why did you pick this brand? Anything like that of that nature. So I thought it was dope.
Y'all know me. I gotta have some notes. You know, that's why I typically go last in these conversations. So, first and foremost, post drop October 30th. That Kith night will be the following Friday, November 8th. So, a week rollout. We talk about timing. You know, that's enough for if you're a Knicks fan, you're probably already going. If you're not a Knicks fan, you're like, clearly, I need to get my bread up for next week.
Exactly.
Right? Which I typically like giving people a pay period at least to get themselves together.
Exactly.
Huh?
But we're poor. Oop. That's what I get.
Speak for yourself.
Right.
Proceed.
So yes. So the idea of just giving people, their audience, like a couple pay periods, I think is always a considerate thing for brands to do, because we talk about offline, not here. People talk about the economy, its impact, how expensive eggs are, like all the things, right? So giving people at least a chance to save up for an experience because those aren't cheap experiences,
Yeah.
So I like that in terms of the timeline of the promotion. And
Also,
go ahead.
sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
It was big information I forgot. With Kith being, a lifestyle brand with clothes and things like that, they actually did a New York drop for New Balance as well.
I was just about to get to that one.
Colorway,
When you were talking, I'm like, hold on, I left out a big part of this foundation to set it up for you guys.
I was gonna say I didn't know if I had to be the fat guy, but actually,
and then
if I'm being but I was gonna say like the New York Knicks colorway of the New Balances. So not only is he like, I mean, it's again a collaboration with two already known entities, but it's like let me add this third arm organically into this. Where now again you're looking at tiers. You got your ticket prices. You got just your streetwear or your actual access and experience nights. And it even led up to the clothing drop where he actually used Knicks players in the photo shoot to give off more of a lifestyle look as well too. Exactly. And so, if I'm looking at this just again, turnaround time and the conversation with the gentleman by the name of Michael Dore or Michael Dora, the former the logo designer, which it is a world-renowned logo, that Knicks logo, from a branding perspective. So just to have that type of conversation. Also, as simple as it was shot too. Yeah. Like it wasn't like no OD. Like it kept between the shoes, the collaboration, like everything to your point of the store, clean. Yeah. Like the aesthetic is very consistent and it's stamped. It's what that looks like. Kind of that luxury
streetwear.
Yeah, luxury streetwear. Yeah. And so it checked those boxes for Kith. And another successful execution of it. If I were to sit here and to rate it, I would say for me, I think this still falls. I would say this falls at around a 9 for me. And I say a 9 because you know what? On this show, we don't compare.
There we go.
On this show. Not just the one show.
Not me laying down the rules.
Oh, hey.
I kind of want to hear what the comparison is, though.
Go ahead.
I BTS. Look, on our Patreon, you can hear how we compare. But but my only comparison was just because, like, I want to be consistent with how I'm rating things, right? So I was going to compare the previous episodes and what I've given numbers to. Okay. Because I think, like, hey, what's the benchmark, right?
Yeah, we really do need like a benchmark.
Because because I said like an 8.5 for the Pharrell piece by piece, and I went 10 for a Tyler, that following week. But I think for me, when I'm looking at the benchmark of it, is how do you hit your core audience? How do you hit a new audience? And how do you kind of become innovative in this space, right? In terms of what I'm seeing and also direct impact. Like, what's the result? One thing that I think fell short, or why I kind of might have gave a point off of the Pharrell situation, was how short it was of a turn, or just like the piece by piece was it, right? Yeah. Like versus like if piece by piece was the lead into then something in a water where there's like motion to this awareness to be, and that's one of those just unfortunate timing things, right? But,
or is it?
Next Dragon Ball Z. But to that point, and so like the Tyler, like his motion is just beginning into what we're about to experience from his, so that's why his was kind of a little bit of that. As for this, like I said, the product is kind of the end game. Like the Kith night is it. I think that it did everything it did to sell that product, and whatever the results of it are, that's it. Like that's dope, and it does a good drive. It impacts the core audience of Kith, New Yorkers. Come on now, and I'm sure Fabulous has every color jacket that has come out in that, because it hits the target audiences that. As someone who, to your points of, I ain't gonna say I'm poor, but I'm conscious of what I spend my money on. Yeah. It ain't in my wheelhouse this round, right? And that's cool. Like I'm not the ideal demographic for that too. Although those New Balances were kind of like maybe, right? Like I would definitely rock with a pair of New Balances. But overall, like I said, I would give it a 9, and so my comparison is to my past rankings. That's all.
Yeah. I would give it a 7, just because for pieces of what you said, like it's not in my audience, but also thinking about new audience, like I've seen the Jerry Seinfeld feature when they did that collab. It was on Complex, so I didn't see it really get picked up a lot, and maybe that's just because of what we have been inundated with on social media. Maybe it just didn't have time to come across my feed, but So that's all I get it.
I'm actually with Kadeja on this. I'm gonna give it a 7.5. It's classic Kith. Use the
Nothing
lifestyle
groundbreaking, yeah.
for use the classic lifestyle to sell your product and have things, you know, coincide with it. I think they built they brung in a new audience by having the logo designer actually speak on the history of the work that he did. You gotta listen to the podcast because if you like, I'm a graphic designer. If you know what graphic designers did back in the 60s and the 70s, oh my gosh, it's like you guys really set the foundation for people like me. But it's just a classic Kith rollout. You know, they have the photo shoot, they have the things that go along with it, they have the product to sell, and they have the things to coincide with it. But it wasn't anything over the top. It wasn't a crazy visual. It wasn't a story that they came out with that I've seen in past collabs that they've done. So it doesn't move the needle in terms of something over the top. It was very average Kith, but average Kith is above average for a lot of things. You know what I mean?
Average Kith.
So just based on what I know they can come out with, it was a 7.5, which is very solid for them.
Yeah, I feel that. Also, speaking of that whole like the back in the day process of creating things, you know what I just watched recently, and I'm sorry this is a tangent, but I just watched recently the greatest night in pop culture, or it was
I saw
on Netflix,
that.
the Quincy Jones.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Quincy.
That's the one
Rest
when
in
they
peace,
did the
Quincy.
We Are the World.
We Are the
Yeah,
World.
I watched that.
nuts.
Yeah.
Did you? The
Dog.
production of that is crazy.
Like,
No.
but you know what's crazy? That was the energy. I'm like, I love creative revolutions like that, where
No,
everyone
facts.
like, yo, we are us.
But you have
we
to
are
come
gonna-
here too. Like,
No, that's
you
the
could just send a
thing.
tape.
But that was the thing, like
They
that,
had to
and
do
it
it
was
in one
like,
night.
oh,
Yeah.
this was the best time. Everyone, it falls in line with everyone's calendars. Like, bro, that is,
It was crazy.
Yo, on Netflix, I was like, but you gotta do tape and add so this is
Like,
audio
going.
school that I
Yeah.
went to, where you're like doing cut reels and you have patchwork. So I mean, I'm gonna nerd out for 5 seconds.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
talk like patchwork, like you have to have every wire in the main section go to a box, and then a switchboard that connects the right cables to the right track for you to edit and control everyone's vocals. Like that by itself is a lot. Yet alone controlling these personalities,
Yeah.
those voices, and that tone. That was such a great documentary, but also it made me put a little more respect on We Are the World. Like,
Watching that story was crazy.
Yeah, I love that documentary. Shout out.
which Prince pulled up, but
No,
understandable.
of course.
I mean,
And on brand.
Right. Speaking of brand,
right.
way to bring it home. All right, well,
thanks.
I appreciate that, but now you got us what we recommended for.
Yes, sir. So we're in the midst of the NBA season. I thought this was just a historic moment. As many know, LeBron James' son, Bronny James, has been drafted to the Lakers. And opening night, they did a commercial of LeBron, basically them two leaving the house, and I guess you call it rookie hazing, where LeBron basically filled up Bronny's car with Fruity Pebbles.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like a tactic where he did it where Bronny wasn't looking. He drove off. And it's funny seeing the dynamics of the commercial because LeBron has a driver. He gets in the back seat of, I think it was a Wraith or something like that, and they drive off. And Bronny, he actually gets in the car to try to drive himself.
Yeah.
So after he, opens the car, he says, you're too old for be doing this. And then he calls Bryce, his younger brother, and said, let me get your car to drive. So it's just an entire rollout of the Nike brand, the father-son dynamic, which is very rare in history. I think Ken Griffey Jr. and Sr. is the only other duo to play together in the same game before. So it was like hitting that moment in history, but to do something so realistic that probably happens in real life, but to have it at a father-son impact, I thought was very creative for Nike and the branding between the two.
Yeah. I would like to even, because I mean, honestly, I look at this as like the James family and Nike relationship, right, and how it's evolved over the years.
Yeah.
Because I mean, again, LeBron comes out of high school, signs a deal with Nike, and has been with them ever since. So on the flip side of that, Nike got all this footage of Bronny, from being a kid, just being around his pops, and so it's such a I like, even with having all of that, they didn't go superficial with some basketball promo. They went, yo, personal every day. You go into we go into the game together. We're about to start this journey, but you're where you are and I'm where I am, kind of promotion. So I thought that was pretty dope. In a sense, and I'll just talk logistics before recommends. But what's your?
So we're going logistically.
I mean, no, you can kick off with the recommend.
Okay, yeah. So I enjoyed the commercial. I didn't know what it was for. It doesn't scream Nike to me.
Gotcha.
Which I think it might be good. I don't know. It depends on how you want to look at it. I thought it was a Fruity Pebble commercial. I did like how it was shot, but I think it's a cop out. I feel like, especially for a brand like Nike, to kind of go with it's like a TikTok, like POV type third camera. Like, okay. And I don't know, maybe I'm just an emotional woman, but I would have loved to see some of that footage they probably had pieced together in some sentimental ass video about how impactful this is. That's what I would have recommended, but I don't know. I hope that they have more in the tuck. Yeah. If it's like a whole series of them doing like what is it, like pranks on each other, I think that's cute. Like if it's just, this is just one in a series and they're like going back and forth pranking each other. But I do think it was kind of like low hanging fruit, in my opinion, for what Nike has done in the past as far as like commercials and collabs and branding and things, and what they could potentially do. But I don't think this is the end of what we see them produce.
Would you recommend, or anything that you recommend them do further with that?
Yeah, I would recommend them either making it a series and like them pranking each other more and more, and like bringing in some of the other people in the family. Like that would have been dope. Like maybe like 6, maybe nothing too crazy during the season. And number 2, of course, doing something more impactful, which I'm sure either if Bron didn't sell that story to somebody else, I'm sure I'd love to see something a little more emotional, seeing some of the backlog of footage.
And to your point, when you say that, I'm now thinking like, I think that was like for Nike, they're like, yo, we've been like, when Bronny got drafted, we kind of did that.
Oh yeah, maybe I'm not privy
no.
They didn't have,
but they still didn't do like much of his line. Like it was more from LeBron's POV.
Angle.
So I like what you're saying in terms of like, even like a mini series where now he can expand his brand personality. Because to your point, like we really don't have a Bronny personality yet. Like what that looks like.
And I think you gotta. I think it has to have a stop, and the reason why I say that is simply just the logistics of the situation. Bronny got drafted to the NBA, but a lot of people say that Bronny isn't ready for the NBA.
Right.
So a lot of people think he got drafted because of his father.
He did.
So in that aspect of it, I don't think I think in the court of public opinion, you have to like fine tune it in terms of like
that makes sense. Yeah,
to keep kind of belaboring a topic when it's like,
we get it,
this nigga really not that good, you know.
And that is a point too.
Yeah.
Like
let's get up out of here. Like we here,
it,
we signed him
exactly.
Now let's go do the work. No, that's fair. I mean,
and I think maybe down the line, because I think LeBron has probably at least 2 more years left. I would think.
I think he waiting for Bryce.
Yeah. I think so. Who knows though? Who really knows? But Jesus I think Christ. If it, like you said, if it gets to a point where he's doing the work and you're seeing the progress, then another ad's gonna come. Then more is gonna be made of it. But it's funny because with like sports and marketing, you gotta perform. It's not like you can be bad and they're gonna promote you, because it doesn't go hand in hand.
That makes sense.
So I think that plays a big part in it, you know.
I feel it, but to your point, to Kadeja's point, it's like I saw no Nike. Like
until the end, exactly.
And then again, it's like, do you stand around? Like, I mean, honestly, recommend a box of Fruity Pebbles.
Next time, Cocoa Pebbles.
Right.
No, but I mean, I think that, or it could have been like just the tagline, like, come on, you got to do it. Like, you know, I think there could have been a better tie into the brand itself. I think that it feels like a James commercial.
Do you automatically associate LeBron James with Nike?
I don't.
You don't.
I think he has too much of a. I think he has so much of a brand.
Many other ones,
like it's not like it's almost like, is this a fruit? Like he could be with Fruity Pebbles.
Pick your poison,
you know, like, or it could be just the NBA's commercial, right?
Yeah.
Like their new hazing. And so to your point, I think the partner could have showed up. So my recommendation would be more for Nike in this regard, like not necessarily a James change, but for Nike to maybe have some more, you know, something more in the story that either draws people to it, or hey, maybe Mikey sponsors some Fruity Pebbles, like small little cereal boxes at the game for opening night,
Ooh.
right? Opening night, you get a box of the Nike Fruity Pebble collaboration type of thing, and then there's some sort of tie-in to Nike that goes beyond just the.
Shit, it could have been a TikTok
And
commercial.
I'm curious why he chose Fruity Pebbles. It's funny because LeBron, he has a sneaker, a Fruity Pebbles sneaker.
Then that's what it is. Then.
But I'm not sure if it's
But
because that's
did he
his
have them on in the commercial? I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's his favorite. I'm just curious why they picked Fruity Pebbles. It might be his favorite cereal. I don't know.
Yeah, but to your point, like I mean, it just I think that it was nothing that made that any different than any James insert X brand collaboration,
Yeah,
right?
I want some
Right.
Fruity Pebbles now.
Right. Yeah, my recommend is honestly like some sort of tie or draw to something Nike. Even if they had a QR code that pulled up on the screen at some point in this commercial,
Right.
where it's just like, well, James them QR code, Nike site.
Yeah.
Like, that would be maybe a small thing, but I don't know if their measurement was to just do it. Like, sorry. You're welcome.
Right, exactly.
You're welcome. Like, we just had to just do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that would be it for
I think it would have been cool to do like a series, like a father-son pranking thing, and then make it go viral. Then all the fathers are like pranking their sons.
So
and
that's
it's like
my
a thing.
recommendation. Was I wish they would have started like more commercials like that earlier.
Yeah.
I think between the draft and the night when they play together, that's where you get most of the promo. After that, you can't really belabor the point. But when you have the unknown, you don't know what he's gonna be. The lead up to it, I think that's where the series comes in. So
I mean,
that was my
that's a good
recommendation.
part. Like, actually take advantage of that window between draft and that would have been a better recommendation, because that's when Bronny was doing a lot of press as well.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
so many viral clips. What are you gonna call your dad? Like, that could have been a prank. Like, hey, Pop. No, that ain't. Like them playing at
Exactly.
different skits to lead up to opening night, and then now let's focus on the season.
No,
So
facts.
I think the opportunity was missed in like a lead
Right.
promotion. So hey, that was a solid recommend.
Facts. I thought it hit the culture. It hit the culture for sure.
Yeah.
Well then, my guy, for the last thing, we always gotta give game. So do you want to kick off the resource that you have, or I got one in the tuck ready. So
I got one too.
Yeah.
I can.
Save me for last.
I think I can go. Let me go first this time.
Okay.
Oh wait, no. Kayla got it.
Fine. No, wait. Hold on. I want to make sure that I have this correct, y'all.
Okay.
My recommendation. No. I keep calling it a recommendation. My
Resource.
resource
Yes.
for the people. It's called LOOM. It is a recording of your screen at the same time you can record yourself. So this is for the girlies that are doing some of the YouTube tutorials or any type of tutorial, or like even if you're making like a presentation where you want to show your screen and also speak to the camera. So it has like a really cute little circle at the bottom, and you live record while you're showing your screen. Also, I'm thinking maybe for gaming too. Like the possibilities are endless. So it's free as well. Love LOOM.
Oh.
That's a good one.
Love
That's
a little
good
free
one.
one.
Yes.
No, that's a good one, and mine is going to be kind of in the same mark. Streamyard, actually, I love Streamyard.
Oh, yeah.
Streamyard, it pretty much was in the time where everyone was using Zoom. Streamyard became an option because it allows you to stream. I want to say RTFP or RTMP to any URL site, or specifically to YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram as well. You can stream live to it. But it gives you an actual production room where you can overlay graphics. You can actually have things queued up, bring in audience, kind of have more of a control system and a production space on the back end side to manage whatever your output is. And plus, when you're streaming live to multiple platforms like LinkedIn and YouTube at the same time, the comment section flows through one channel and chat for you. So you can manage any type of communication from one source. So there is a free version. You do get a lot more out of the paid upgraded version. But if you're someone who is doing virtual conferences, virtual workshops, I think StreamYard is a great platform, especially a step above Zoom in terms of production.
I was going to say, it definitely looks better. Like, you can do a lot more with branding on StreamYard,
Yeah.
too.
Nice. So for my recommendation, I'm gonna go with Dubsado. I've been having a lot of clients lately in my graphic design part of my business, and keeping everything in a CRM system. So customer retention management, I think is the.
Let's go.
There we go. I got it. So it just keeps everything organized from when you send a proposal over to signing contracts to paying the invoice. It's an automated system. You send once, and it goes through the entire process. Also, when you send over files and proofs for the
Designer.
for the client to review, it shows them when they read it, so they can't sit there and say, "Oh, I didn't see it."
this.
Exactly. So it's just very foolproof. I love it. It keeps all my projects in order. The ones that I'm working on, you can segment them from leads that you sent out that didn't get into jobs, so you can follow up with those people as well. So definitely recommend that. I definitely started using it this year because I needed to get an organization going with my process. So shout out to Dipsado, man.
Hey man, shout out to our resources this week though. We kind of gave them some good ones. So
Facts.
man, it's another episode. Creatives, we always got something to say. We thank y'all creative thinkers for tapping in with us. Until next time.